we are solving some minor technical issues, so we will start very soon. If you feel, take your jacket out. I think Rome is a beautiful city, but today is a very hot day, maybe the real first summer day, so if you feel so, take out your jacket. And secondly, for the translation, channel number 1 is English, and channel number 2 is Arabic. Good evening, Commissioners, Excellencies, dear participants. It's a particular honor for the Swiss Embassy to contribute with this event to the launch of the joint process to account for persons missing as a result of migration in the Mediterranean region. As you have read today, migration is very high on the headlines in Italy. The number of persons disappearing along migration routes can only be estimated. According to IOM, 27,000 people have died along the major migration routes since the beginning of 2014. However, there must be many more who have died, have not been accounted for. This evening is about sharing the personal stories of missing migrants and their families and friends. I would like to express my special appreciation to the witnesses who are present today for the courage to share the difficult experiences they had. Knowing more about your perspective on the issue is key for the improvement of our response to the challenges around missing migrants. Under international law, states have the duty to investigate cases of missing persons, including missing migrants. At the same time, families have the right to know about the fate and whereabouts of their missing family members. Tonight, we have several experts among us who are directly involved in tracing and clarifying the fate of missing migrants. They will share with us their work and concerns related to the topic. Switzerland is not a country of the Mediterranean region and is therefore not challenged in the same way as other countries around the Mediterranean Sea. However, we are convinced of the urgency of the matter from a human right as well as a humanitarian perspective, and certainly as a key issue of contemporary migration governance. We all need to be concerned. Since 2017, Switzerland enjoys the observer status at the International Commission on Missing Persons. In this quality, we are supporting ICMP initiative in its efforts for a joint process in the Mediterranean region. We are also going to support the initiative of the International Committee of the Red Cross on Missing Persons, including missing migrants. This ICRC, in cooperation with relevant partners, will work on standard setting and establishing communities of practice. On a multilateral level, the issue of missing migrants has found its way to the negotiation of the UN Global Compact on safe, orderly, and regular migration. This shows that the issue is acknowledged and taken seriously by the states. Hopefully, the final wording of the Global Compact will lay a good common ground for the future action. Last but not least, I would like to thank the ICMP, all the colleagues, as well as all the partners who made this important event possible. Thank you for your support and good evening.
Your Excellency, Ambassador Kessler, Honorable Commissioners of the ICMP, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by conveying greetings from Her Majesty Queen Noor, one of the commissioners of the ICMP, who had hoped to be with us this evening, but was obliged to change her plans at the last minute. Along with my fellow commissioners, she assures you that she stands resolutely behind the initiative to ensure cooperation in accounting for missing migrants, and regrets that she could not be here today. Some of our panelists this evening will share with us their direct experiences of the migration crisis, not from the perspective of policymakers and others like us, but from the perspective of men, women, and children for whom this crisis has been life-changing. And I see a young man here from Gambia. I used to be a judge in the Gambia, and I know why young people would want to leave the Gambia. It is my privilege, and our privilege indeed, to listen to their experiences and to benefit from their examples of courage, solidarity, and hope. Courage, solidarity, and hope, however, will only have a compelling influence on events if they are allied with policy. And this is what makes the ICMP's profiles of the missing format so unique and so useful. These meetings bring together the disparate and yet complementary elements of policy and experience. The policymakers who are here with us today have the opportunity to listen to the voice of experience firsthand. At the same time, the representatives of families of the missing can identify ways in which policy can be made more relevant and more effective, and in some cases, more just. As an ICMP commissioner, and also from the perspective of my work as a judge at the International Criminal Court in The Hague, and as a commissioner in the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, I have witnessed firsthand the interplay between the rule of law and proper application of human rights. The benefits of steps taken by the international community acting together in this regard brings justice, even in the most difficult and not so promising circumstances. Today, across the Middle East and across Africa, huge numbers of people are on the move. They are fleeing violence and poverty, and their migration is accompanied by suffering and by systematic criminal exploitation. It is essential that we respond to the crisis with solidarity and compassion, and also with a robust approach that is firmly based on the rule of law. Most importantly, we should also recognize the gender aspect of the missing migrants issue. The majority of those who go missing are male, which means that female-headed households in countries of origin are struggling in the very difficult conditions that forced their husbands, fathers, or brothers to migrate in the first place. And this often happens in patriarchal societies. At the conference that was held by the ICMP this morning here in Rome, representatives of Cyprus, Greece, Italy, and Malta agreed to develop a joint process under which they will assess the capacity that already exists, for example, in terms of records and databases, and examine how these can be shared. They will also seek to improve ways of understanding how and why migrants go missing. They will study ways of enhancing the use of scientific methods and advanced data systems to identify the missing. And they will promote procedures that can help to uphold the rights of surviving relatives of the missing, including bringing perpetrators who prey on migrants, especially children who are missing in large numbers, to justice. It is entirely appropriate that this cooperative initiative was launched in Italy, which has been the front and center, literally, of the European encounter with mass migration. Italy, Greece, Cyprus, Malta, and other European countries are all grappling with this issue and developing appropriate responses. Just as the families of the missing migrants need our support, these countries also need our support to meet their obligations to secure the rights of surviving families. What we can try to do is to support strategies and measures that work, and in this way, alleviate at least some of the burden that is being carried by these countries. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like, on behalf of the ICMP, to thank Ambassador Kessler in particular for generously hosting this evening's profiles of the missing, and the government of Switzerland for the support it has extended to the ICMP's Missing Migrants program. I would also like to highlight the invaluable cooperation that the ICMP and the Swiss Embassy, as co-organizers of this evening's event, have received from our partner, the International Organization for Migration. And I would also like to express the ICMP's profound thanks to the numerous civil society organizations that have helped to identify and secure the participation of our panelists this evening. These organizations work with dedication and courage, providing aid and maintaining a safety net for tens of thousands of vulnerable people. I would mention by name the Syrian Center for Media and Freedom of Expression, Migrants of the Mediterranean, YASDA, the Italian Coalition for Civil Liberties and Rights, and the Eritrean Initiative of Refugee Rights. Ladies and gentlemen, through the application of ideas that will be discussed here this evening, I believe that together we can make real progress in addressing the issue of missing migrants. I thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just introduced myself. I'm Philipp Zahn. I'm working for Swiss German Television, so I'm quite a frequent guest in this building. And I have the pleasure to guide you and us through the next not more than 1.5 hours. And just some technical advices or remarks. You all have, I hope, the translation earphones, because you will hear some Arabic translation. Then we have a live stream and also recording of the whole event. There is also, if you want to Twitter, you can, there's on social media a lot of presence of this. But the important is not me, but the important is this panel, and that's why I'm moving on the back. And I just want to explain that this is not the first meeting of ICMP on an international level, but it's the first meeting or panel about missing migrants. So we have 3 testimonies here, and I had the opportunity this afternoon to hear and to talk to them. And I already say thank you because it's not something very common and easy to organize, and also to find persons who are able and willing to talk about their most personal experience and harm and suffer. So what we try also to give to you, to the audience, also to the discussion, is to raise public awareness and talking not only about the problem of personal manner, but also about regional security, conflict prevents and peace building and international justice. So what the important thing is how the relatives of people which are missing can cope with this situation, and to whom they can in future maybe address. I mean, we know who we can call if we have a problem on security, we call the police. If we have a problem on health, we can call the ambulance. But there are many things, and this is one of human life, where you don't have one number to call. So maybe this is also part of what we try to push with this meeting today. So I would just present you very shortly our main protagonists, which are on one side Bakari from Gambia. He left his country as a very young man, crossed all West and Central Africa to Libya. He was several times kidnapped and sold to slavery. He managed to escape, and he made a big friendship in that time with a friend he met in prison, and he lost. Bakari managed to cross the Mediterranean. He lives now in Naples, but he doesn't know what happened to his friend. Walid is from the Sinjar Mountains in Iraq. Most of you, all of you will probably know what happened there. He escaped in 2014 from the IS through Iraq, Turkey. Then he took a boat to Greece. And on that boat, something very horrible happened, because it drowned and only six persons survived. He lost his wife, all of his children, his sister and her children, and he lives now in Germany. Then Pamela is just next to Bakari. If he needs some assistance, she's next to him. So Kasem, he's a Kurd from Syria. He escaped from that conflict, and as the first of his family, he reached through the Balkan route Germany. Once in Germany, he tried to get legally the unification with the rest of his family. This wasn't possible, so he had to find non-legal ways. He paid smugglers to make his family, his wife, his children, to cross Turkey and Greece. And they were on a boat, also on a boat, which was capsized. His wife and 2 children were rescued in that incident, but his son and a nephew not. He doesn't know what happened to his son and to the nephew. He still hopes they are alive. Then Meron, she came as a very young child to Sweden. So to say she's from Eritrea is, well, I'm for 25 years now in Italy, but I'm not Italian. So her father was or is a politician in exile, so that's why she came to Sweden. She's a journalist, a founder of the Eritrean Refugee Rights Initiative, and she can explain to us the ways how they manage now in an ethnic community to communicate with each other, also through social media and other platforms, to share information about people who are on the move, who are migrating, who are escaping, and what is happening to them. So these are the panelists, those who explain and talk about their personal life. Then we have our experts. We have the Director General of the Italian Citizens Abroad and Migration Policies at the Farnesina, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Luigi Maria Vignali. Thank you for coming. Also, it's a difficult time for Italy in this moment, even today. Thank you for the time. We have Judith Sunderland. She is an expert and a lawyer advocate on the issue of migration in Europe and Central Asia at Human Rights Watch. And we have Federico Soda, which is also today asked as an interview partner about actual terms, but he will talk first. He's the director of the IOM Coordination Office for the Mediterranean based in Rome. And Federico, please, I give you the word. You will provide us a short overview based on the IOM Missing Migrants project, yes, and which tracks incidents involving migrants, including refugees and asylum seekers, and about your experience on this. So please.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to Ambassador Kessler of the Swiss Embassy, the ICMP, commissioners, the colleagues, the distinguished panelists, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be here. I'm sadly too often on panels and on discussions that are actually very, very serious and tragic. And tonight is very much that kind of situation, the issue that we're talking about. The ambassador mentioned in his opening remarks that we've been trying to track the number of missing migrants since 2014. He referred to about 27,000 people during that period that are unaccounted for. Well, during that same period, nearly half are from the Mediterranean region. And this is an ongoing and continuing problem. And there are two things that are really difficult about this job. The first is knowing that I have colleagues at the landing ports in virtually all of the southern Mediterranean countries that are quite regularly seeing body bags coming off the boats. And the second, which I think may be even harder, are the calls that we get from families, relatives, loved ones, looking for their friends, loved ones, or family members that they suspect attempted the journey and didn't make it, and for whom almost always, unfortunately, we don't have any answers for. So what we're here about tonight is extremely important, and it's not just numbers, it's about families and people. The Recent trends in the Mediterranean overall are, in this respect, are not very good. While the numbers overall are down in terms of the people attempting the crossing, we have an increased percentage of people going missing or drowning. And that's because it is a very fluid type of migration. It's a very fluid situation. We have had a very dramatic change in the type of methods that are used by smugglers. And for the last several years, when the numbers have been highest in terms of people unaccounted for, they have been mostly using very small, unseaworthy rubber dinghies, sometimes leaving without enough fuel, sometimes leaving without an engine even, and definitely not designed or intended to ever make the crossing. We also have a very, very fluid situation in terms of the types of people that we see coming across, especially across the central Mediterranean. And here I want to kind of bifurcate this summary between the eastern and the central Mediterranean, because we're talking about two very, very different types of migration and types of movements of people. In the eastern Mediterranean, which, by the way, this year is more dangerous than last year in terms of crossings, we have primarily refugee populations coming out of the Middle East and parts of Central Asia. And it's not very diverse migration in the sense that if you take, certainly in 2015, at its peak, if you took the top 5 nationalities, you could account for probably about 85% of all of those people. The central Mediterranean is very, very different, and it has been different for always. It's been different all along. We have a very, very diverse migration. Every year, somewhere around 60 different nationalities are registered by the Italian authorities, arriving across the sea. It's a geographic area that spans from Senegal to the Comoros Islands to Bangladesh, and literally just about any country within that triangle across North Africa is represented in this migration. And of course, it's transiting through a state that, often it seems that perhaps it's hardly a state. A situation in Libya that has, over the years, certainly in recent years, deteriorated, and where already there is a lot of suffering at the hands of traffickers, smugglers, other criminal networks. I would say almost systemic abuse of women, but not only. We are seeing very seriously traumatized and abused males as well. And so, of course, these are the unfortunate people that, having to flee, are getting on these types of boats and coming across the Mediterranean. One of the main issues, of course, is the absence of a state-led or EU-led or multilaterally led response to saving lives at sea. And we're seeing this play out all the time. And I think we're seeing it in some regards playing out right now, or these hours and these days. Because in the absence of that kind of response, that comprehensive response to save lives, and then figure out how to address both the underlying problems but also the humanitarian issues, in the absence of that kind of response, other actors are stepping in. Civil society, in some cases, commercial vessels have to step in, apart from, of course, the Italian authorities doing a big share of the job. And it's simply not enough. It's simply not enough if we're seriously concerned about not just identifying the missing, but reducing the number of the missing. Because until we're just picking up pieces in the Mediterranean, we're not going to find a solution or an end to this situation. And until we focus on just trying to find remedy for the missing, then obviously, if that's what we're doing, we've got other underlying issues. So these are extremely important issues that I think arise out of really a breaking down of processes much earlier on. And that's really what we're trying to work on. And we're very happy that some attention, some serious attention is being given to this issue. And we're happy that we can contribute. And if you want any more information about our research on this issue, you can simply look for missing migrants on the internet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Federico. I mean, one sentence I remember, you said these calls you receive, or IOM receives, there are no numbers, but there are families and lives behind. And this is, I think, the key issue we're dealing today. I would like to pass the word to Ambassador Vignali, because you also have to handle with figures and numbers, but you are one of those countries of first receiving. So just explain your experience as part of foreign ministry and what you hope what will happen in the future.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you to ICMP for the invitation, and thank you to the Swiss Embassy. I'm really glad to be here, even in a busy day, for everybody dealing with migration policies in Italy. Today was a difficult day. Federico Soda has already outlined the complexity of managing migration flows. I would like to stress a common notion behind what happened today and what we are asking for an international activity on missing persons. And is the notion of shared responsibility. Italy, for many years, has rescued hundreds of thousands, of migrants at sea. Italy, for many years, has hosted subsequent waves of migration, integrating them to its own society. But at the same time, we have never been ceasing advocating for an international shared responsibility, and most of all, a European shared responsibility on that. Today, what happened is, say, a political follow-up on what has been said for many years. And as long with the idea of shared responsibility, we have strongly asked for a European solidarity on managing migration flows. The solidarity is an overarching vision of the Europe we want, of the European Union mission. But at the same time, solidarity was missing in the managing of migration flows for many years in Italy. Solidarity will also be important for the future of identifying deceased migrants at sea. And I would like to note that we are not touching an issue about a humanitarian response, only a humanitarian response. Of course, there is a very strong humanitarian element into giving people certainty about the fate of their dears, and at the same time let them know where their remains have been buried, for instance. But in my vision, the activity of ICMP and the Italian Special Commissioner is something very much related to human rights. It's an international obligation, in my vision, and that's why we ask for solidarity, an international solidarity, a European solidarity, also in this field. We very strong have pushed for an Euro-African partnership along this year of managing migration flows. The idea of a new partnership between Europe and Africa was first proposed by Italy a couple of years ago, and was then translated into the new partnership with Africa proposal by the European Commission. We strongly believe that also the activity of identifying and finding and identifying missing persons could help to build bridges between Europe and Africa, for instance, to integrate their activities, to let everybody know, also in our societies, that we are managing the same flows. We are working on the same concept, that is one of partnership. We can build bridges between the northern Mediterranean area, for instance, and the southern border of the Mediterranean. Is a very powerful message of compassion and solidarity. Once again, the word solidarity and empathy we can deliver with these activities. And Italy certainly has a best practice to share with other partners. As I was mentioning before, we have established a special commissioner for missing people, and its activity on missing migrants is of utmost importance now. We would like to share our experience, and we ask for an involvement, a direct involvement, not only of the international communities as such. And there I strongly believe there is a role to be played by ICMP as a coordinating body, as a strong, reliable coordinating body to fill the gap of something we lack now. But at the same time, once again, I believe there is a role for the European Union. The European Union is now starting discussing on the multi-annual financial framework. And for the first time, there will be a budgetary line on migration flows. Then I believe this might be an opportunity also to establish a budgetary lines for international missing people, especially migrants deceased at sea. So certainly Italy will support this idea. And once again, as for the managing of migration flows, once again, we will ask for the European solidarity also in this field. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. You quoted common responsibility, and I just want to say that both of you are quite busy today also with the actual situation. So whenever you have to leave the panel, feel so free, and as long as you are with us, we are happy. Back to the common responsibility. I mean, what I understand, ICMP could try to achieve also through experience from countries like Italy, but also those countries which took for the first the migrants and refugees on European mainland, and those also where they finally will live then, is to adopt a framework which could also work in the countries where the migrants are passing through, which are often countries which doesn't have a legal framework as we know, or even countries who treat the people who leave illegally their home country as traitors, as criminals who are not allowed to do what they do. So it's very difficult. I would like to ask Walid, you are Iraq citizen? No. And can you just explain, if you please put the earphones on, how, I mean, now you are in Rome in this wonderful room, and many people are listening to you. What remained to you when you talk? No, you have to. You need. So otherwise, you don't understand me. So, just explain shortly what you want to tell us, and also what is your expectation now? What do you think? How an international organization can help in this?
صراحة أنا واثق منهم. صراحة أنا يعني أثق فيهم. لو كان ما أثق فيهم ما كان أنا حاضر هنا. وأشكرهم على دعوتهم اللي سأحضر هنا. نعم. من البداية. سيداتي وسادتي المشاركين في هذا المؤتمر، طابت أوقاتكم وجزيل الشكر لكل من ساهم في إنجاز هذا المؤتمر وعمل على استماع إلى صوت المتضررين من أهالي الذي فقدوا داويهم أثناء الهجرة. اسمي وليد خليل مراد من مواليد سنجار شمال العراق. كنت أعمل في مجال التجارة في العراق لفترة من 2007 إلى 2014، وكان لدي بعض المتاجر عندما استولى تنظيم الداعش الإرهابي على مناطقنا في 3 من آب 2014. ولا يخفي عليكم بشاعة جرائم التي ارتكبها داعش بحقنا. بعد هروبنا إلى كردستان فقدنا الأمل بالعيش في العراق بسلام، فقررت أن نهاجر من العراق بصحبة العائلة، ووضعنا أمامنا خيارين: أم الموت في الطريق أو الوصول إلى أحد الدول الأوروبية. ففي كلة الحالتين سوف نتخلص من جماعات الإرهابية المتطرفة والإضطهاد. في تركيا كنا نعاني من قلة الطعام وعدم وجود الخدمات ومدارس ومما ازداد الأمر سوءا هو أن بنت شقيقي قد أصيب بالسرطان في ذلك الوقت. في أحد الأيام كنت ذاهبا إلى أنقرة برفقة ابن أخي، فرأيت ابني واقفا عند باب المخيم، فسألت عن سبب عدم ذهابه إلى المدرسة، فأجابني ليس وجود معلمين في المدرسة. عندما قررت الهجرة ومنيت المبلغ المطلوب لتوجه إلى أوروبا، وصلت عائلتي إلى أزمير والتحقت بهم مع ابنة أخي. عائلتي كانت تكون من زوجتي وأبنائي 3 وأولاد أخي 3 وأختي. حاولنا مرة العبور إلى يونان وبقينا في البحر لمدة 7 ساعات إلى أن اعتقلونا الشرطة التركية بتاريخ 9 كانون الأول عام 2015. كررنا محاولة في مركب صغير لا يصلح السفر، ولكن لم خففنا من الكلام، لأن المهربين كانوا مسلحين على بعد 100 متر. شعرت بالخطر بسبب الأمواج وطلبت من السائق أن يعود، لكن رفض ذلك. كنت على تواصل مع شخصين كرديين عبر الهاتف، أرسال لهم موقعنا كي يدخلوا، ولكنهما الأسف تركونا ولم يفعلوا شيئا، ربما لأنهم كانوا إرهابيين. كنا قريبين من جزيرة فارماكونيسي العسكرية عندما طفأ السائق المحرك ولم يكن هناك وقت كافي. كنا 9 أشخاص على سطح القارب و20 آخرون بداخل الغرفة، كان منهم 10 أشخاص من عائلتي. في قارب كنا على مسافة 10 دقائق من الوصول إلى ساحل عندما غرق المركب، وعلى متنها جميع أفراد عائلتي. أنا وخمس أشخاص آخرون نجونا من الموت. 2 أخذوهم مع خفر سواحل التركي، وأنا والباقين من الأصدقاء دفعنا الأمواج إلى شاطئ اليونان.
Thank you, Walid. It was a big preparation, and it's not so easy to put it in short words what happened. Bakari, you will talk in English.
Yes.
And explain how was this trip through Western and the Sahel zone, Western Africa and the Sahel zone up to Libya, and what happened to you there? Did you ever expected that before?
Good evening. Prima della pausa estiva. It's my pleasure and honor to be present here. Sì. Yes. No, ce la faccio perché guarda, è successa una cosa lì che il direttore generale ci teneva moltissimo a essere presente. E poi io ho fissato la data e tutto col suo programma.
Who's talking? Take the microphone, it's easier. Okay. I keep it for you.
Okay. Good evening. I greet you all. It gives me a great pleasure, honor, to be present here today for this great occasion. And first of all, I thank for ICMP for inviting me this great occasion. My name is Bakari Jadama. I'm from the Gambia. I am 20 years old. I crossed this journey through Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and finally in Libya. And my journey was so horrible. During my stay in Libya, I have been kidnapped for several times. During my kidnaps, they sell me like an organization and like a group of kidnappers. They used to buy and selling me. My first kidnap, they sell me 250 dinars. But actually, I don't know how cost in euros. Was so miserable. So they put me in a prison. I say they call it a prison, but I don't think it's a prison. So I was there for 5 months in that prison. And that prison was horrible. And I am tortured, beaten seriously. And right now, and during that stay, they hit me in a gun, AK-47, in my head. And still now, I have a problem in my head. I thought I would not exist at this point in time, but I'm thankful. But still now, my brain is not good. So during that imprisonment, I suffer a lot. There is no good food, no good water. We drink toilet water, and that one is not hygienic, and that food also is not good. That lets some people feel sick, and some finally die in the prison. And during the prison, there is massive beating. So, and the living condition was very poor in the prison, because we sleep in the floor like that, no blanket, no nothing. And that time was very cold in Libya. So that caused people some pneumonia, some have high blood pressure, high blood, and the like. And that prison is horrible. And they call me just to pay a money for my release. Whenever they call me, you have to pay this amount, this 1,000 dinars for your release. I respond them, I don't have money, and my family don't have money to pay this fee. The more I talk about that they beat me, hit me, and demand me a current, just to call my family. And that one was not practically impossible because my family cannot afford that. So I insist not to call them, not to talk to them, but they keep on beating me. That hitting me guns made me my brain too. So I was faint at that point in time. That's so miserable. And during then I have escaped to enter the Mediterranean. But before I will enter the Mediterranean, I have many steps. I have many steps towards enter the Mediterranean, but I was not successful for 7 times. Yeah, I entered the rubber boat for 7 times. I was not successfully entered. So during my stay in Libya was so horrible because, to be frank enough, I experienced so many difficulties like brutal, beating, so miserable. So in In latter part, when I was in the prison, I was escaped from that horrible and miserable thing in Libya. Then I came across a boy called Mustafa. So when I was on the way coming in Tripoli, I'm just like not a human being. Because when anybody saw me, he or she will feel me, the condition I am. I was like dead. So Mustafa is the one helped me. He just hold me and brought me his apartment to give me shelter, food, and everything. And he made me to stay in his house for duration that I will be having opportunity to cross the Mediterranean. So we was together, and he is so good to me.
Sorry, your friend Mustafa, what was his origin?
Mustafa is from Senegal, Dakar. And during our stay in Libya, he made me to communicate with his family. Told his family I came across a boy called Bakari. He's a good friend of mine. So I do communicate with the family the time I'm in Tripoli. Yeah.
Okay, so just stop for that. Thank you so much. We have a second round. This is just the first one, just to everybody can present his own experience. And I would pass the word to Kasem. Please put your earphones on again. Kasem, please start with your experience.
شكرا لجميع الحضور. وأنا سعيد بأن في ناس يشعروا بمعاناتنا ويصغوا إلينا. أشكرهم جميعا. أنا اسمي كاظم من سوريا. كنت أشتغل بصوامع الحبوب مهنة كهرباء، وتزوجت 2004 وغادرت سوريا ب 27/7/2015 في سبيل أنقذ أولادي من الحرب والدمار وأمنوا المستقبل أفضل. طلعت على تركيا، من تركيا رحت على اليونان برا، ومن اليونان عن طريق الدول البلقان وصلت إلى النمسا. السلطات النمساوية رجعتني على هنغاريا، ومن هنغاريا وصلت على ألمانيا. سلمت حالي بمخيم ماغديبورغ للاجئين، وضليت شهر ونص. طلع إقامتي سنة، إنه اللي ياخذ سنة إقامة ما يحق له يسوي لم شمل إلا بعد 3 سنين. فاضطريت أحكي مع زوجتي وأخي يطلعوا ويلحقوني. زوجتي وأخي يطلعوا من سوريا لمطار لبنان ومطار اسطنبول ثم إلى أزمير، واتفقوا مع مهرب نفس اليوم الساعة 3:30 ليلا. مشيت القارب 10 دقائق وانقلب فيهم اليخت. قال بعد 10 دقائق اجى صيادي من التراك، أنقذونا. كان في 4 موتى، وهالطفلين ابني وابن أخي ما بين معهم، وزوجتي بعد ما طالعون ظلت 2 ساعتين بالمي لحالها. اللي لابس شاشية سترة أنقاذ واللي توفوا مو لابسين شيء. وصيادة حتى طالعوا تشناتي اللباس كله وما شافوا هالأولاد على سطح المي، ومع العلم أنهم لابسين شواكيت إنقاذ. رجعوا على تركيا، من تركيا ضلوا شهر بإزمير، بعدين راحوا على ميرسين ضلوا 4 أشهر، سويت لهم لم شمل وجبتهم لألمانيا. بعد الحادث في شاهد حكى معنا أنه شاف طفلين بجزيرة ميتيليني. أخي راح على جزيرة ميتيليني ضل 4 أشهر، فسأل المنظمات اللي هنيك قال ما في من هالشيء، وبنفس اليوم 11/11/2015 ما اجانا هالحادثة غرق. بعد منها اخوي راح على اثينا عند بسمة منظمة ابتسامة الطفل، طلبوا منه DNA وطلبوا مني ان اعمل لهم وكالة عن طريق السفارة اليونانية، ما انا ما بعرف مشان شو الوكالة. أخوي رجع على ألمانيا وأنا رحت تعرفت على واحد اسمه عبدو، قال في محامي كويس عنده خبرة بهالشغلات. رحنا وكلت محامي، قال أول شيء بدي أبدأ من نقطة اللي انطلقوا منها من تركيا وبعدين لجزيرة ميتيليني، وتنشوف القاضي العام للأطفال أنه هو المسؤول عن الأطفال. محامي ما سوى لي شيء. بعدين عبده حكى معي قال لي ابنك عند عائلة متبنينه بسالونيك، بعت لي مصاري بدي اروح اشوفه، بعت له اسحب له صور وصور فيديو وبعت لك اياه. بعد فترة عم احكي مع عبده ما يرد علي ولا محامي يرد علي. ورجعت على ألمانيا، شفت هالصورة بصفحة فيسبوك لمنظمة ابتسامة الطفل. أنا رحت على المنظمة فرجوني هالصورة بس ما استقبلوني. هذا 99% ابني. أنا أقول ابني ووالدته تقول ابني. ما استقبلوني. قلت لهم من وين هالصورة؟ قال في صحفي جاب لنا صورة وأعطانا الصورة ومشي. طيب قلت لهم أعطوني رقم الهاتف الصحفي أو عنوانه أنا بدي أروح لعنده. قال ما أعطانا رقم وبس أعطانا صورة ومشي. بعد منا حكينا معهم، قال الولد كان عندنا بس رحنا على السالون هيك ضاع منا وما بعرف وين راح. كمان رجعت على ألمانيا، رحت أنا وفي صحفية ألمانية اجت معي على خيوس، بحثنا ورحنا على المحامي قلنا له عبده هيك سوا، أنا جاي من هونيك بدي أرفع عليه دعوة. قال أوكي، ولهلا لا رافع عليه دعوة ولا شيء. وكمان رجعت على ألمانيا وحياتي كلها تغيرت بعد ما فقدان ابني. شكرا لكم.
Thank you, Kasem. Thank you so much for your testimony. Meron, missing persons. What does it mean for you? I mean, you hear a lot of personal experience stories, also hope of life, of living. So how do you cope with it? What is your experience?
First of all, many thanks for giving me the chance to be the voice of the missing Eritreans. In 2002, I was affected when my cousin and my aunt were on a boat from Libya arriving in Italy, and we found out that they capsized and died. As I grew up in Sweden, so I did not know my cousin or my aunt that well, so I was not affected as Walid or Kasim or Bakari. But then again, in 2009, a cousin of mine, also my first cousin, went missing, and until this day, we don't know if he's alive or not. And my uncle just died 6 months ago while waiting every month asking, have you found out something about your cousin? And unfortunately, I did not have an answer for my family. But I'm here to discuss mainly about the missing Eritreans in general. It feels being an activist for the last 13 years, dealing on a daily basis with people that go missing, listening to mothers talking about their child. The stories really affect you. There are some stories I would like to share because we don't have that much time, but one mother lost her son in Eritrea, being held incommunicado by the government of Eritrea, not knowing if he's alive or not. Second child went missing in Egypt. The body, she was never able to recover his body. And the third child went missing last year on their way to Italy. And this poor mother don't know, she was blessed with 3 children, but she was not able to bury or to know the whereabouts of her children. So this is the story that I listen on a daily basis, and this has encouraged me to work on Missing Eritreans page on Facebook, using social media, asking people to send their pictures of the missing, any description of the missing, and also when or where he was seen last time. The sad part, just like Kasim, many of these families, they do not only miss their loved one, but they get exploited by people who claim to help them. They will claim, oh, I have your son. So of course you will be happy. You haven't heard about the whereabouts of your son for the last 10 years, and you are being asked to send $10,000. Any family would do that, regardless whether you have money or not. And this is what I start saying, and that's the reason that I created the Facebook page of Missing Eritreans, to protect the families from publishing their phone numbers, because majority of the exploiters, they go through Facebook profiles of the missing, and then they contact the family directly, as they always publish their phone numbers. So these are the kind of stories that I deal with, and I'll continue as we continue.
Thank you. Judith Sunderland, there's also a legal aspect. So I think maybe you can explain to us, what happened to people who are trying to find their beloved and even have to pay and to afford. So what is the framework?
Sure. Well, is my mic on? Yes. First, I have to correct an error. I'm actually not a lawyer. I'm old enough to have gotten into the human rights business before you had to be a lawyer to do it. But I do fake it often. But I did just really want to thank all of you, Walid and for speaking. And I know it's very hard, but it's so meaningful to all of us. And I'm sure that everybody in this room feels distress for you and compassion and wants to help you. But access to help shouldn't depend on personal contact or that kind of direct compassion. There has to be some kind of a system to help as many people as possible who are facing the same kind of suffering, the same kind of pain. And that's where initiatives like the joint process are so important, and it's also where it's relevant to talk about a human rights framework for all of this. Of course, humanitarian principles and practices inspire a lot of these efforts, but international human rights law has a lot to say and should guide the response of the international. Yeah?
Maybe it's better. It's on, yeah.
Is it? Yeah? Can everybody hear me better now? Okay. I was saying that humanitarian principles obviously inform the response of the international community to the issue of missing migrants. but international human rights law should also guide that response. So I'm just going to talk very briefly about the key rights issues that are involved here. Of course, the right to life is the most fundamental right of all, and all other rights derive from that. But the rights to freedom, to liberty and security, and the right to freedom from torture and cruel, inhuman, and degrading treatment are key here. And all of those rights put together impose clear obligations on states, both to prevent those kinds of abuses, but also to investigate when a person disappears or dies on their territory or under their jurisdiction. And governments, of course, have this obligation regardless of the status of the victim. Right? So it doesn't matter if it's a person who doesn't have the right papers to be in that territory or in those waters. And of course, the duty to investigate is heightened when there's a chance that state actors were involved, but it applies in all situations. It certainly doesn't matter that the death may have been caused in some way by the person's own behavior. And I know that sounds very blunt, perhaps too blunt, but it goes to the question that it does not matter that a person willingly got on a boat and then drowned. That does not absolve the state or all of us from a responsibility to find the truth about what happened and give that person a decent burial if possible, and help their families understand what happened. So here, that goes to the question of the right to a remedy, and that is basically the right to know the truth, the right for some kind of accountability and justice for a wrong that has occurred, been committed. And that means that states have to conduct effective, diligent investigations. And there has to be a framework for that, a framework for logging and documenting all possible information about missing or deceased persons, international networks to coordinate and share information that may be relevant to discovering the truth about a person who has disappeared or may have died. And of course, in those investigations, family members have a series of rights, above all the right to information, the right to participate in the investigation, and to be heard. There is thankfully now, perhaps more than ever, attention to the devastating loss of life and the number of missing migrants on the migration journeys. And I wanted to quote Agnes Kalamar, who is the United Nations Special Rapporteur on extrajudicial executions, who issued last year a report on the deaths of migrants and refugees. And she concluded that report with a very strong statement that I'd like to read out. The frequent absence of investigations into these deaths is an additional worldwide violation of the right to life, contributing to an international regime of impunity, the invisibility of the violations and of their victims, and ill-informed policy-making related to migration that may contribute to further deprivation of life. The international community is right now negotiating a global compact on migration, which does include the important objectives, really, of saving lives on the migration journey and coordinating international efforts on missing migrants. And I wanted to flag the details of those commitments, which will hopefully be adopted and then fully implemented by all signatories. So first and foremost is to improve search and rescue efforts. And of course, here we've been talking a lot about deaths at sea, people going missing at sea. It's important also to recognize how many people are lost on land as well, including on the kind of journey that Bakari had to make to get to Libya and cross Libya itself. To establish transnational coordination channels and designate contact points for families looking for missing migrants, through which families can be kept informed on the status of the search and obtain other relevant information. Collect, centralize, and systematize data regarding corpses and ensure traceability after burial, and make all efforts, including through international cooperation, to identify and repatriate the remains of deceased migrants to their countries of origin, respecting the wishes of grieving families. These are all incredibly important commitments that really would give life to those obligations that derive both from humanitarian principles and from international human rights law. And the joint process inaugurated today is an important example of that kind of good faith coordination that is needed, that is vital to find those that are missing, to honor those who have died, and work towards policies that prevent these tragedies from occurring. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. Not a lawyer, but advocating for the rights to remedy. Yeah? So if it's fine for you and you still have capacity to listen, I would just invite us for a second round where the four of here can conclude their experience and also their message, why they are here. So, Walid, I would start with you again. Please conclude what you still want to tell of what happened to you. I give you the word.
بقيت في يونان لمدة 49 يوما ولم أستطيع العثور على جثث أفراد عائلتي، وأخبرونا خبر سواحل اليوناني لأنهم لا يستطيعون إخراجهم من البحر لأن المياه عميقة جدا. بعد أن فقدت الأمل في العثور على جثثهم غادرت اليونان في 29 كانون الثاني 2016 عن طريق هنغاريا، صربيا، كرواتيا، سلوفينيا، النمسا وثم ألمانيا. السلطات اليونانية لم تتعاون معي أبدا في عملية البحث، وأنا لا أملك المعرفة الكافية عن كيفية جهود البحث أو إلى من يجب أن أجا كي يساعدني في هذه العملية. لم يساعدني أحد حتى بنصيحة. لقد غرق اليخت عائلتي أمام عيني ولم أستطيع فعل شيء. ما زلت أصواتهم تناديني وتستنج بي في راسي. لا أستطيع أتخلص منها أبدا. أبنائي ينادوني ويقولون بابا بابا انقذنا، وأختي يستجد بي ويناديني أخي انقذني. كيف أستطيع كيف أستطيع نسيان كل هذا؟ لقد كان هذا الموقف أصعب في حياتي. لم نستطيع حتى العثور على جثثهم. لقد أثر علي هذا الحادث في كل شيء في حياتي. لا يمكنني التركيز في مستقبلي. لا أستطيع الضحك. حتى حين أضحك الضحك لا تعبر شفايفي وكأنها ممنوعة من الخروج.
Thank you. Bakari?
Continue about my friend that has missed Mustafa. It affects me so much to miss such a good friend like Mustafa, much more his family. I was doing research or search to find Mustafa through Facebook and WhatsApp, the groups, to share his pictures so that I will come across of my beloved friend. Still now, I'm in the process for doing that, but still now, there is no information about Mustafa. Courtesy of Pamela, that introduced me with ICMP and IOM to make sure, to help me to find my beloved friend Mustafa. And I hope sooner or later I will find my friend Mustafa. Okay. Yeah, and also my mom, because I don't want to talk about my mom, but I must talk about it, because my mom feels about me. Since I left my country, my mom didn't have any information about me. She was trying his level best to have information about me, how I was, either I'm in a good condition or not. But so unfortunately, I was in the prison, I was nowhere to be found. So she did not have any information, and he was very sick. Because of me, she is been admitted at the hospital for several times because of high blood and thinking. I believe maybe he was thinking about me. And so unfortunately, when I entered in Italy, then before I was having his number, but when I entered here, I don't have his number. So I have a friend, Facebook, so that I contact to get my mom's number. And when I called my mom, she did not believe. It's me, Bakari. He said, is it Bakari? I said, yes, Mom, it's me. He said, no, don't believe. He said, are you alive? I said, I am alive. It's big grief. And I'm very sorry about what happened to my mom. Because of me, he was sick and admitted in the hospital. And that one, I feel it so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Hassan, please.
أول شيء بدي أقول شغلة إنه نحن عم ندور على أطفالنا ما يطلع بيدنا شيء ولا حدا يرد علينا. لازم اللجنة الدولية تتكفل بهالموضوع، تبحث عن المفقودين أو الجثث تبع المفقودين. في بتركيا مقبرة مسمينها مقبرة الأرقام. حوالي 140 قبر بس أرقام، ما حدا بيعرف إنه لمين هدول، بس مجرد ماخذين DNA والصور تبع الجثث. بميتيليني نفس الشيء. أكثر من مرة أنا رحت على السفارة التركية إنه بدي أروح أدور على أولادي، ما أعطوني فيزا. طيب خذوا مني DNA وأنتوا حاولوا ابحثوا عن الأطفال إن ميتين ولا طيبين. ما أعطونا شيء ولا نتيجة. فهلا نحن أنا وزوجتي وأولادي قاعدين بألمانيا، حياة كأنه جحيم بالنسبة إلي ولزوجتي ولأولادي. ما في شيء عندي تاني أقول.
Meron, please.
Sorry, what was the question?
You brought.
Yes, this is actually, as we are talking about the missing people, so I would like to pass this picture so that you have an idea what it is that maybe you could pass it. And if you could pass it. Let's see. Thanks. The reason I brought this picture is it happened here in October 3, 2013 in Lampedusa, which all these coffins belong to my people. They were all Eritreans. Trying to identify these people, which was, in this case, it was easy because there were 155 survivors. And what was impressive is I was there as the survivors themselves were compiling the list of the people that were in the boat. We managed to get all the names of the 368 people. So these are identified refugees. But as you can see, the coffins, and especially the white coffins, are for the children. And they are all numbered, even though they have names. So a friend of mine wrote a poem because she couldn't stand seeing the numbers. And I would like to read that poem if it's okay with you. Sorry, just disappeared. Yeah. I wonder what she called you, little one. Your precious mama. Maybe she called you Burhan, my light. Or did she call you Heaven, my pride? She may have called you Natsanat, after rest she yearned. Or were you Awat, victory? Tell me, little one, what did your mama name you after her hope? Or did she call you Amen as an end of her prayers? Did she name you after the saint your grandpa prayed to? Or were you named after the brother she lost in prison? Maybe after her father long gone. Did she name you Sina after the desert she crossed? Or Eritrea, the land she reluctantly left? Perhaps she named you for the land you were to inherit. Tell me, little one, what did your precious mama call you? For I can't bear you being called number 92. This is my friend Salam Kidane who wrote this poem, and I felt that it's very important that we document and that they are recognized by their names, not by numbers, especially when they have a name. So I encourage everybody to work for this.
Thank you. Thank you, Meron. Thank you also Kasem, Bakari, and Walid. So in the end, it was some kind of a commemoration also. I mean, there was no rehearsal. So in the end, this is all natural and true. So before I would invite you, hope for many questions or points of discussion, I would ask Ambassador Miller to take over for the closing remarks. Or before we want to have the discussion, are you sure? Because I don't know. This is my personal feeling after all these stories, which are quite hard. For me, it would be difficult now to start a discussion now. I would prefer to hear first a closing remark, if you don't mind, and maybe you invite them, the auditorium, to start the discussion. Right. Is it fine for you?
Whatever. Or what we might be able to do is have a discussion over as we're eating. You know, I leave it to you. First of all, I want to thank all of our panelists tonight who have contributed to the discussion. We had long discussions today. The discussions tonight were obviously very, very moving and I think will be the lasting impression that's left on all of us. I believe that we've all benefited in different ways of the discussion over the last couple hours. We've been able to hear the stories, and these are really traumatic stories. I got a chance to talk to all three of the panelists beforehand, and we've been able to also gain a small amount of appreciation for their concerns, and the story doesn't end. The story doesn't end when a boat capsized. These, as you said so eloquently, these are continuing stories. They're continuing nightmares. And I think part of what our obligation is to do all that we can to try to put an end, to try to bring some closure to these nightmares. We got a chance earlier today to hear proposals of some of the policymakers. Clearly, the discussions today have facilitated a better understanding of the challenges that we all face and have illuminated some of the solutions out there. This is the start of a process, and it's complicated, it's complex, it's going to take a while. It's important, I think, to realize that none of this has taken place in a vacuum. Many of you were present this morning when we had representatives from Greece, Cyprus, Malta, and Italy, as well as other countries and organizations, when we started to develop our work plan on a joint process to address the issue of missing migrants in the Mediterranean region. In the afternoon, many of you were present at the roundtable we had of technical experts and others, also at the Villa Massimo, and we began to explore some of the key aspects of this joint process. And, excuse me, I think the discussion over the last couple hours has put a real cap on what this is all about. I was a diplomat for 3 decades. I get the policy stuff. This is about human beings. And any of us could have been in their situations. And I think we have to, we have to look at it that way. These are human beings. And as you said, we all have the right, the basic right to life, and that right has been taken away from their families. That's what this is really all about. Yes, the issue of the missing migrants is complex. I think today's meetings have highlighted a rather simple underlying fact, and that is if the countries involved, and I'm talking not just about the receiving countries, but the sending countries as well, because we had representatives from Tunisia and Libya this morning, if they enhance their sharing of information and coordinate the responses to the migrant crisis, there's a real chance of reducing suffering. I didn't say eliminating, but I said reducing suffering of what we're witnessing on a daily basis in the Mediterranean. ICMP, our organization, is completely focused on finding solutions. And in the course of today's exchanges of analysis and ideas, I think we all came up with a much clearer sense that our partners, and this is a partnership, no one organization or one country, and I think our colleague from the Italian Foreign Ministry said it well, this has got to be a shared responsibility. We know the challenge is huge. We believe that we can help if we seriously take this as a shared responsibility. We can lift some of the burden from the countries that are most directly impacted, in this case, Greece and Italy in particular. By developing practical responses and building on the work that ICMP has done elsewhere around the world, building on the work that we started here We actually started at the UN Security Council in January 2016 when we made an attempt to focus a lot of attention on the missing migrants in the Mediterranean. Since then, we've been working with other organizations, with other governments. The events of today, I think, put a real capstone on this effort, but again, I want to say this is the start of a very, very long road. Let me conclude by obviously thanking our Swiss host and the ambassador who's been so kind to facilitate this exchange. I also want to thank the interpreters who've been working nonstop and doing a terrific job. They've broken down language barriers. I hope we'll be able to match what they've done in breaking down language barriers by breaking down some of the administrative and political barriers that are out there, so we can get all of the parties, all of the forces, governments, international organizations, NGOs, everyone who's got a role in this, working together to try to begin to address this problem. And so the next time we are all together, we can start talking about progress and results. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. Sorry for this change of program, but I think it was the better.
No, that's fine. What are you going to
Just before passing you the word, I wanted to ask if there is Avvocato Arturo Salerni. Okay. English. That's why I'm asking you, because you are on my list, because you're representing a Syrian doctor who lives in Switzerland, and as far as we are in Switzerland here, maybe you can contribute with your client. Okay, we can translate for you. Anyway, your client, he doesn't have a valid passport. He's a Syrian citizen. He would like to come to Italy and to Malta, and he cannot to search. And maybe this is also the start of the discussion. Why is it so difficult for family members to search for their missing persons?
Allora, il dottor Walid, che non è potuto venire qui oggi a Roma, e sua moglie erano due dottori siriani, anzi lui era un medico siriano, e si era rifugiato nel 2011 in Libia.
So I just translate. Your client, he's a doctor from Syria, and he escaped to Libya in 2011.
Poi è dovuto scappare dalla Libia. La nave era composta che andava via dalla Libia, molti erano dei dottori siriani che si erano rifugiati in Libia durante la guerra siriana, poi era scoppiata la guerra in Libia ed erano dovuti scappare. E durante il percorso vengono attaccati, diciamo, da alcuni mercenari libici.
So, he took part of this migration wave of academic or well-educated people who left their home country to find a new future, and they had also to leave Libya because of the civil war.
L'11 ottobre del 2013 la nave sta per affondare, ci sono a bordo 300 persone, 400 persone, e per ore tra la Guardia Costiera e la Marina Militare Italiana da un lato ci si rimbalza la possibilità di intervenire. Nessuno interviene, sono ore in cui vengono chiesti soccorsi da parte delle persone che si trovano sulla nave. Si dice, arrivano le telefonate e gli dicono chiamate in Libia, chiamate Malta perché vi soccorra Malta. E intanto le ore passano, la nave va giù, c'è anche una nave italiana nei pressi che non viene fatta avvicinare. muoiono oltre 200 persone, muoiono 60 bambini, muoiono le 4 figlie del dottor Guaid, 4 bambine,
So it was-
avevano dai 10 ai 3 anni.
Sorry, I have to translate because I don't know if everybody knows Italian. So anyway, it was a ship of almost 300 people or more than 300 people. And it was still a time where, as I understand, Mare Nostrum, the Italian security disposal was not on.
Mare
wasn't-
Nostrum ha inizio successivamente a questo
It was
fatto.
before the military
Per questo
mission of-
fatto oggi c'è un processo a Roma per...
Sorry, I have to translate otherwise. So there was still, this ship was sinking, and there were ships around, but nobody was intervening in that moment. And many people died.
Many people
And there is
died.
also a trial ongoing in Italy.
In Italia c'è un processo che vede all'udienza preliminare, cioè per disporre se deve essere deciso il dibattimento su richiesta del giudice, sia un ufficiale della Marina Militare che un ufficiale della Guardia Costiera, perché si parla dell'ipotesi di omicidio colposo di oltre 200 persone e di 60 bambini. 4 di questi di 4 bambine erano le figlie di Guaid, che oggi purtroppo non è potuto essere presente qui.
So your client, he lost also his family, his children, and 4 daughters. And there is now a personal responsibility going on in this trial in Italy.
In Italia si farà questo processo, è fissato per il mese di ottobre. Abbiamo purtroppo ore e ore di registrazione che attestano un mancato continuato intervento che ha portato al naufragio e alla morte di oltre 200 persone e di 60 bambini.
So this happened, this non-intervention of rescue ships happened before the Mare Nostrum started.
Successivamente a
But
questo fatto.
just to come back to our main question, why does your client want to travel to Italy and to Malta? What's his why? Perché deve venire a Malta e in Italia
No.
per?
Lui scappava dalla Libia e tra italiani e maltesi c'è stato
Sì, però adesso perché non può venire?
Perché non lo fanno venire dalla Svizzera? Perché per una questione di permessi di soggiorno per uscire dalla
E
Svizzera.
perché dovrebbe venire adesso in Italia?
No, doveva venire per questa iniziativa, era stato invitato
Ok.
e non è potuto. È venuto altre volte per il processo, arriverà per il processo, ma il processo adesso è stato fissato ad ottobre.
Grazie. So I just want to pass the microphone to who wants to take the word and start the discussion. So I asked you to come, or I was asked to ask you to come because your client also wanted to be here present on the panel, but he couldn't come because of problem of passport. So who would be the first? I can do it as in a TV show, so I go to the first person and then I give the microphone. Anyway, please present yourself and.
I'm Kibeida. I'm from. I'm Italian. I'm from organization Mosaico Action for Refugees, Turin, Italy. I thank you. I thank ICMP. For this initiative. Thank for the ambassador to host us. As Italian, and I as activist for refugee issues, I want to, from the stories we listen this evening, I want to share our responsibilities as Europe. in these stories. For Bakari, for example, we have our partners who keep these people in prison in Libya. So with Italian money, these people became imprisoned in Libya. For Eritreans, they imprisoned in Sudan with Khartoum process and whatever, and they blocked them in the east of Sudan in a very huge camp with no means of human dignity. And the security officer from Sudanese government, they kidnap these people from the camp to bring them in Eritrea. And there is other criminals kidnap these people for human organ trafficking. And there is a lot of missing people in Sudan. And they are also our partners with our tax payment, this money given to the Sudanese government, which the president is wanted by CIC, by the International Criminal Court. And Europe give him the money to keep refugees there, to block them there, to be missed there. So nobody can see them, and the story is finished there. But these people has families and they are persons, missing persons. They are not refugees, they are not migrants, they are simply persons. And I think Europe should take the responsibility to respond, to choose the partners for their actions, and to withdraw from this kind of deals. He cannot bring his family from Turkey, also because there is a deal there, and also because it's very hard to access to embassies to take a visa for family reunification. So here, again, we are responsible for all these stories. Thank you.
Direct response? Okay.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yes? All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody, for your contributions, and thank you to ICMP for the invitation. My name is Katrina Jarvis. I am a former judge from the United Kingdom, and I am currently the co-convener of the Last Rights Project. For the last 3 years, we have been working to formulate a new framework of rights for the missing and the deceased and their bereaved family members. And on Lesbos in May, on the 10th and 11th of May, we had a meeting of some 52 people from around the world where we discussed for 2 days, and we then formulated an agreement called the Michelini Declaration, where we've set out in summary the rights of the missing and their family members, and the duties and obligations of states as were summarized by the representative from Human Rights Watch. So that can be found on our website. And one of the things that we call for is a national mechanism. So we very much welcome this initiative by ICMP. And we hope that we will see these around the world, not just in Europe. 2 things, I think I could say many things, but I don't want to hog the microphone. But just 2 things I would say at the moment. Firstly, it's going to be very, very crucial to gain the trust of family members in relation to the giving and holding of data. And that if this is not done, the mechanism is just not going to work. And the other point that I would make at this stage is to highlight the rights of children and the importance of those in accordance with the 1989 Convention on the Rights of the Child.
Thank you. See some other hands, please.
Thank you very much. I'm the Swedish ambassador here in Rome. First of all, thank you very much to all the panelists for a very clear and moving expose of what you have experienced and your conclusions from that. Since the panel ICMP has, of course, started work here and started their discussions on the practical measures to try to take in order to alleviate this situation. I would invite the members of the panels, if they have some ideas to share with us, what would be the most important practical steps that could be taken in order to address this issue, and where do you see the primary responsibility for those steps? With states, with international organizations, with possibly NGOs who could assist in this respect. I understand that there is, of course, a discussion that has started and no final conclusions are drawn, but perhaps there are some ideas that you might be ready to share with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Judith, I just give you, you want to reply on that? Or?
No.
Okay, please.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, my ambassador, for the good question. One thing I notice is while searching for refugees, I've been traveling all over Tunisia and other countries like Egypt. And what I see is either if they are dead, if they do find corpses, they are never, like their DNA is not secured. So I would like to see somehow that the United Nations leads, that there is a resolution on this, that, okay, you don't have to bury them, you don't have to test their DNA, but at least just save something that we can recognize in 20 years, 10 years from now. It would mean a lot to many mothers that are calling on a daily basis for over 10 years, still awaiting to identify their loved ones. This is one idea. And the second idea would be, in the work that I do, the difficulties that I find is actually writing down the names of the refugees, or even detained refugees in prisons. So I found refugees that were in prison in Egypt for many years. And since they were not able to contact their loved ones, so their family had assumed that they had died. And every time you go to an embassy asking, do you have these refugees by the name, then the names are written, they ask them by orally, what's your name? So if I say Meron, it's written in Arabic, and it will sound something very different than my real name. So for this reason, we also have these difficulties. So I do encourage everybody here to encourage others that do deal with detained migrants like Libya, Tunisia, Egypt, and other countries as well, to correct and give them pen and a paper just to write down their names. That would save a lot of hardship. So these are some of
Back to the yes. Let's go to the.
Se ladies first, io parlo solo in italiano o in curdo. Buonasera, non so se 2 minuti, vi ruberò solo 2 minuti. Io mi chiamo Yasmin, sono una rifugiata curda di origine. Come tutte queste persone che ho ascoltato prima, con un grande dolore ovviamente, in ognuna delle loro storie ho trovato anche la mia storia.
We don't have Kurdish translation. No? Anyway, you are also refugee from Turkish Kurdistan. And in every of the three or four stories, she also found her own experience, her own story.
Purtroppo la storia brutta dell'essere umano continua. Cioè, io sono venuta sotto un tir, ma piccolo Aylan è morto in una riva del mare, una spiaggia. Sì.
So the story continues. Because she arrived underneath a truck, and the small Aylan, the famous photo on the Turkish beach, he tried to cross the sea.
Uno dei miei amici, io ero unica ragazza, uno dei ragazzi era di origine siriano, è morto dentro quel tir. Ho viaggiato con questo morto.
She traveled with one of his fellow friends who were with her, and he died in the truck.
Allora, Shengal, come lui, è di origine curdo, Yezida, ma di origine sarà curdo, secondo me, perché Sinjar è una città curda. Si ripete in Siria la stessa cosa, in Ghana, in tutto il mondo. La storia ogni giorno si ripete, ingiustizia contro l'essere umano, ma fatto dalla mano dell'essere umano.
So every day the story repeats with injustice against human beings, done by human beings.
Allora, questa unione che io mi onoro di stare qua con voi stasera, queste organizzazioni che tutti quanti si sono messi insieme rappresentano una forza, e questa forza, chi ogni giorno muore ci crede a questa forza, perciò anche chi si trova qui deve crederci a questa cosa e unirsi insieme a queste persone, andare contro queste ingiustizie.
So everybody of you on the panel believes that things can be changed, and also the ICMP believes that things can be changed. So your invitation is putting these beliefs together to change really.
Perché continuerà, perché lo sappiamo che non si ferma qui, finché ci saranno le guerre, finché ci sarà la cattiveria dell'essere umano, questo continuerà. A me mi dispiace che signor Wahid oggi non c'era qui, io insieme all'avvocato Arturo Salerni siamo venuti. Il motivo che signor Wahid non è qui, si trova in Svizzera, uno che ha perso, cioè ha fatto tutto quel viaggio, ha perso 4 figlie, come tante altre persone che hanno perso le loro figlie, i loro figli, doveva essere riconosciuto come rifugiato politico, ma in Svizzera lui è riconosciuto come, gli hanno dato un permesso umanitario, purtroppo lui non riesce a viaggiare per cercare i propri diritti, per cercare l'anima dei loro figli, delle loro figlie.
So the story will continue like this, because there will be wars and there will be injustice. So we won't find an end without doing anything. And you came together with a lawyer who was sitting before, because Walid, he's in Switzerland and he's safe, but doesn't have political asylum, but he has just human protection, and that's what makes it for him more difficult to travel outside.
Grazie a tutti, grazie a voi di avermi ascoltato.
Hello, thank you very much. It's been really interesting and very touching as well. And thanks to the ambassador for the invitation. I'm Miasha Mechanico. I work for State Watch, which is a small English organization which is specialized in European documents. And I just wanted to say something in reference to what you were saying earlier on about the responsibilities and the responsibilities of states. So it's not a question of states having more control and information kind of stopping this, because in 2013 there was an explicit decision was made that in order to discourage migration, and what I'm talking about here is the destructive power of immigration policy as it's currently conceived. In 2014, after the Mare Nostrum operation, a decision was made by the European Union to put an end to it. And that was following years when Frontex, the European Border Agency, had been claiming that that operation or operations to save lives represented a pull factor. It encouraged people to migrate, in fact, because migration is this big thing which must not be allowed. And all the shipwrecks, all these people who are missing, are largely the basic reason for it is that they're not allowed to travel. It's very, very, very difficult to obtain visas, particularly when you need them most. And that's the problem with the nationalities. And what has happened since the spring of 2015 has been the implementation of the European Agenda on Migration, which is, it goes even further than that, because it says if you disobey this prohibition to migrate, and there's lots of people, including the people who spoke on the panel, who find themselves in a position where they would not want to migrate, but they have to. And the decision from the European authorities, because they have to impose this policy, which has been ongoing for more than 25 years, and it has had, the deaths have been going on for 25 years. And it's not a matter of humanitarian organizations encouraging people to come across, or military patrols which are saving people, encouraging people to come across. It's something that there's always been, and as prohibitionism of immigration is enforced, it leads to a degradation of neighboring areas. So what I think, especially from people who have to do with policy and with official positions, particularly the diplomatic ones, I think the key points at the moment, and we're seeing it today as well with the boat, which is being left at sea just because there are some political interests in play, and it's a tug of war between different countries and authorities and the European Union. So it's just a warning about the destructive power of immigration policy as it's currently conceived, and as it has been doggedly pursued by the Commission and Frontex, and I'll say the names as well, Avramopoulos and Leggeri, because it's reading the documents, having experience of looking at those documents for over quite a long time. When they first came out, it was obvious what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was just looking at the time. We were now 2 hours together, and I think we can still stay together, but not maybe in this room, which the temperature is rising more and more. I say to all of you, thank you so much. Mille grazie. It was really great, and I was very glad to be next to you and to listen to you and to your courage. And I like to change the program. I give the microphone to our host, to Ambassador Kessler, and the final words from you.
Thank you. I don't have much to add to that, just to thank you all, especially the witnesses, and all for your stories that help us to, let's say, elaborate a little bit or discover for many of us a very sad aspect of migration flows. So I think if this day helped us all to make it a bit better for migrants to have a travel that is human, dignified, I think we achieved something. Thank you very much, and I would like to welcome you the next time when we have made progress on this issue. Thank you.